So we all know that Miyu is going to be a very, very strong Animus coming into Etheria Restart, but I want to actually talk about it. Is she going to be replacing our boy Kraken, or is she going to be a great addition with him? Now, there's a couple of different elements I also want to talk about, so we're just going to jump right into it, starting out with obviously Miyu's stats. And I feel like one of the main stats that we like to fixate on is speed, right? Now, I think speed is always really important to look at, but this isn't necessarily a determinant factor on if the unit's usable, but it also will maybe give you some insight on maybe how you might have to build the character. Now, with Miyu, she has a 113 base speed, which is that the fastest in the game? Absolutely not. But like we seen in the beta where Kraken was still going before characters, I mean, to be honest, when you're talking about that early game investment, this is going to be a very, very insane character, okay? And even when we get to end game, there's going to be a lot of different things that are going to be accessible to players to allow them to be able to build into dealing with the fact that she might be slower than some other characters. But nonetheless, she's still going to be honestly in a really optimal position, because you have to remember, guys, this game isn't just necessarily about creating a unit that just is faster than everybody, but it's about the combination, right? So what teams can you make? So I could easily see her being placed in a team with a rotator, whether it be, you know, a number 41 or a Lily or a Doki Doki, right? There's plenty of characters that could get this character to go before you, and it does not require her to go first, right? And I think for what it's worth, it's really going to, again, be super scary when this character rotates you and then your whole team is frozen, right? So that is going to gateway us into obviously the skill set, the skill tree, I would say, that this character has, or really the skill moves that this character has, which is going to be the Mist Fairy, which has a 25% chance to freeze for 1 turn. Now, what's really interesting about this is that there's a lot of different things that I could at least come up with in the top of my head with how you could build this type of unit, which again, something super early you could be able to take advantage of is like building Bramble, right? You want her to freeze more with the skill 1, considering that there's no skill cooldown, and it also could punish your opponents. You could easily go for like a more tankier, like bruiser build on a character like this, and now you have yourself a counter freezer, which is kind of insane when you think about it. That's like really, really OP, but nonetheless, again, like every character, that can be countered. But still, for what it's worth, that's really cool. Now, on top of that, you also have the skill 2. So let's actually go and see what that is looking like. All right. Oh, I think we skipped over it. Go back a little bit. Go back. Let's play it from right here. But yeah, with the skill 2, it's basically going to be an opportunity for you to get some more of that CC here, right? So it's called Ice Cage. So you basically are able to deal damage to all enemies with this. And basically what you're going to be able to have a opportunity of doing is freezing all your opponents for 1 turn. Now, the other thing that's really interesting about this move is that it can inflict wound. Now, that's a really specific debuff to have paired up with freeze. But the reason why that's actually really good is that means that there's no passive healing, right? There's no healing being received. Now, granted, you do have characters like Ling Lao that exist, which, you know, she could just like straight up remove that and then still heal. But this is still really good for some of those other, like, you know, H over times or heal over times and other scenarios like that, right? Now, when you're looking at the Mist Day or the Misty Day, which is the skill 3, this is where things get a little bit interesting. Now, just to further break this down, it's 300% damage to all enemies with a 65% chance to steal the main target's turn meter by 50%, redistribute 25% turn meter from other targets among all allies, and then grants all allies a speed up buff for 2 turns. Now, the thing that's actually really interesting about this specific ability is that it has a single main target that you're able to basically steal 50% turn meter from, okay? Now, the thing is that this is really important because this is going to be a key factor in targeting, okay? Now, when we're talking about like doing boss content, things of that nature, you're always going to be more than likely targeting like the main body at that point, right? Because if you're able to steal 50% of the turn meter and then redistribute it to your allies, that's going to be huge for rotation. Now, is that going to be super crazy? Not crazy, like, you know, to the extent where you're like full rotating every single time. But when you combine this with other things, you're going to be getting a lot of turns. And the reason why this is actually really good is because you're getting the redistribution attribute for 25%, but then you get the speed up buff of 30%, which means that you're going to be actually rotating much quicker, right? So this is something that actually ends up being super, super, super busted when we're just talking about the nature of, how this works. And the other thing that's actually like really, really insane is that if you guys look, right, and I always like to pay attention to these types of things, they actually decided that they were going to give her the Jackal Guard, which is the shell companion that she has currently equipped. Now, if you guys don't remember what the Jackal Guard does, the Jackal Guard is after the owner takes action, they're able to perform a follow-up attack. And then with that attack, they're able to apply 3 turns of speed up. Okay. And then the owner Animus is then able to have their turn meter increased by 25%. So this ends up being quite an interesting combination. Now, there's a lot of different things that you can go for here that I would say could work easily. Like early game, be things like Unbridled Science. Like I think that's pretty like straightforward. But then when you go to the point of like, say that portion of when you're first getting your first set of epics, Black Flag easily, right? Because that speed up buff is huge. And so with that being the case, I feel like there's a lot of, even with how this character is going to be operating, the progressive nature of it is going to be really, really good. Now, of course, getting into the elephant in the room, okay, is this going to be killing Kraken? Is she replacing Kraken, etc., right? So let's actually pull up the boy Kraken, okay? Because I think that it's really, really important to talk about this, because I think that we have to get out of that mindset that everything is just getting power crept and getting replaced. I don't think that this is necessarily going to be replacing our boy Kraken here. I feel like what it's going to be doing is giving you an alternative, and on top of that, another great pairing. Now, let's actually talk as to why, okay? Now, what's really oppressive about a combination like this, and this is something that we might be seeing, again, this is being recorded beforehand. When that patch notes come out, there could be some changes to Kraken. I wouldn't be surprised because of a character like Miyu. But what I will say, if they leave him as is, what you're basically going to be getting, and if we just take a look at the skill 3, it's a chance to decrease the turn meter by 35% with a 60% chance to freeze, okay? Now, this is actually huge, because you have to remember that the skill 2 or skill 3 does not have the opportunity of being able to freeze. So with that being the case, you have the freeze from the skill 2, but with Kraken, you can get the freeze from the skill 3. And this is something that actually is going to be really, really cool, because it says if the target's turn meter is cleared after being decreased, the freeze chance is then increased to 100%. So this means that she's only going to be making it easier for him to be able to proc that 100% freeze proc. So this is going to be leading to a combination unlike any other, I would say, for CC freeze, right? And really just for CCing in general. Now, when you start looking at, of course, like the skill 2, which you have the deep frozen, which is making it to where the target cannot take action or passively gain turn meter if the affected unit's HP is below 50% at the start of their turn. This effect will last an additional turn. The extension can be triggered only once. Now, again, this is going to be great for anything that I would say that you need to like isolate, freeze, keeping them from getting their turn. Of course, with Kraken and with characters like her, they're still going to be providing that pushback, which is going to be extremely valuable when we're talking about a lot of the PvE content. And then, of course, shifting into PvP. Honestly, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what you're going to do if you get CC frozen by these two. The only thing you really could do is, like, for example, run like, I don't know, Alicorn. But even then, it's like you either have to go for preventative action, because remember that immunity is like just honestly a straight up counter to CC freeze, for example. Like if they are faster, but you already have like sets that give immunity, for example, you could definitely deal with something like this. It's not impossible, but how, soon are players gonna be built like that? It might take a little bit of time for certain players to get caught up and, kind of have variances in their builds and things of that nature. So this is definitely going to still be a very, very strong, meta, I would say, right? Now, of course, with that, you have the defense break in the skill 1, which I feel like more than anything, yes, they have respectable amounts of damage in their own kit, but this is really going to be just enabling other characters on your team. You could really only honestly just bring 1 DPS with these guys, and that's GG. Now, I want to talk about the other character in the room, right? right? And I wasn't even just thinking about Kraken when they showed her. I was thinking about our boy Marll, man, because Marll is still like, we still wondering what they're gonna keep on him. But one thing that I was actually like really like interested in is the fact that he has an AoE 50% turn meter pushback. Okay, now these three together would be insane. Just saying, for one, that would just be insane. But if we would just say two of them, okay? Let's go with the Miyu Marll combo, okay? That means that you would have the main body or whoever you target, right? So let's just say we're looking at PvE content, right? Main body would be pushed back by 50%. And then when Marll goes, that's another 50%. So that means just between these two characters, you could literally have a character at 0, okay? At 0 turn meter. Like, that is kind of insane. Now, the other thing is though, and what I really like about what Marll brings to the table is he's bringing a speed down, and the speed down is reducing their speed. So not only do you have the freezes going on, but let's say somebody doesn't get frozen. Now they're going slower, right? There's a high chance that speed down is still going to land. And then the res down is only going to be helping enable your CCing and landing your freezes with your Miyu or your Kraken, getting your pushbacks, etc. So Marll is going to be a great unit being paired up with a lot of these units in PvE. And then when we look at PvP, the isolation that you're going to be able to get from these types of characters are going to be absolutely insane. Okay, so I'm really interested in seeing like what Miyu is going to be able to bring to the table, because for what it's worth, she has some really strong units that she could be paired up with. Now, the other thing is too, and I feel like this is also like really important to mention, guys, she is a constant attribute, okay? Now, I want to talk about this for a second, okay? Because I know that there were some players that were like kind of wondering like, what does this mean? Why is this happening? Now, like I told you guys before, I'm expecting there to be a few units coming into the game that are going to be constant attribute, or that's going to be disorder. Now, this is definitely going to be making a little bit of an impact, I would say, on what you guys might be re-rolling for, and not even just what you're re-rolling for, but how your chances of you getting certain things in your re-roll, as they add more units, it just dilutes the pool, right? So this is something that is going to happen, but I feel like this is also still catering to multiple play styles. Now, does this change like, the value of characters like Lily, for example? Absolutely not. I still feel like she is going to be one of the strongest, as of right now, Animus in the game. There would have to literally be somebody coming that would honestly need to either mirror or just completely outdo her kit altogether, or it maybe even counteract. You might even have a character that just straight up counteracts her, and that might be the play. You might go counter pick, right? So it really is going to really boil down to that. Now, when this character actually comes out, we'll have more videos getting a little bit deeper into, obviously skill investment. We don't have this character tangible to look at on the test server just yet. So we'll take a look at that when the time comes. But yeah, I'm interested to know how you guys feel. How do you guys feel like, how do you feel? Because I feel like this character is about to be stupid. But again, like everything, I feel like it is going to still be countered. And on top of that, I feel like the value of what this character is bringing to the game is only helping reinforce CC so that it can be a constant rotated in meta versus it just being this thing that like kind of happens in the early game and then it just gets like decimated the rest of the game. So I feel like this is really cool. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. We got a ton of surprises coming up. So yeah, make sure you guys lock in as we get super close to release. But that's going to be that with this one, guys. Everyone stay blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.